Thanks for being with us on Community Matters on 95.3 WBCK Saturday mornings at this time between 8 and 8:30 and anytime at battlecreekpodcast.com. It's a service of Lakeview Ford Lincoln, Dick Minute, Washington in downtown Battle Creek. Well, it's time to check in for an update from Miles from Memories, where they create solutions for those impacted by dementia in Calhoun County through movement, programming, and research. And as you might expect, the person with whom we'll now speak, the wonderful Sherry Sherban. Hi, Sherry.
Well, hello. Thank you for having me today.
Well, thanks for being here. Boy, it's been a while since we've chatted, and it used to be that I could do that intro by heart.
Uh,
I had to
I'm
look it up and
impressed.
remind myself.
Well, good. I'm glad that you did. So there we go.
Yes. Boy, I remember when last we spoke years ago now on the
Hmm.
morning show on WBCK, we talked about the Safe Return program. We talked about the technology that you were just beginning to roll out that
Yeah.
would help folks be found were they to be somewhere they did not intend. And then, of course, folks would be trying to find them. This was incredible technology, and you have some really great progress to talk about since we've last spoken.
Yeah, most definitely. So, one of the things that we have discovered, especially during the COVID period where folks were supposed to be sheltering well at home, the individual with dementia didn't quite get the information in an understood sort of way. And so, that particular person started wandering more than ever before. So, during the time where we were really, enclosed for a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
we had more than double the number of individuals that had wandered and had been brought back home than we had collectively in the previous years combined. So by the time we got to the end of 2021, we were at the point where we had 135 individuals that had wandered from home that this particular program had brought back. And in addition to it being amazing that there's 135 individuals whose family members were just completely elated that their loved one was returned home, the flip side of it is beginning to look at it from the perspective of healthcare. And one of the most impressive things is that for that particular person, that means they didn't have to get into an ambulance. They didn't have to be transported to a hospital, especially at a time when we were trying to make sure that only the most sick folks were at the hospital. And what it resulted in is nearly $675,000 of healthcare costs that were not expended.
Oh
So,
my.
yeah, this bracelet that we now have, it's a $40 bracelet. And with this bracelet, if somebody is wearing this bracelet and a bystander scans the back side of their bracelet, what will happen is their loved one, their emergency responder, will get a notification that the bracelet has been scanned. They'll get a text message that they can tap on with their finger, and automatically a map will come up with directions to exactly where you happen to be located. And
Oh wow.
it makes finding you, getting to you, responding to you, and bringing you back home so much faster than it was even when we first began this particular program. So the bracelet, while it's not a on time, real time, we're not watching somebody walk around. The minute the bracelet is scanned, we have a very exact location. So that is one of our impressive programs. The other one is a true GPS watch device where you can, from your cell phone, watch where your loved one is going all day long. And you can even set specific locations so that if they end up, the ice cream place, you'll get a notification that dad went to get ice cream, right? So uh,
Mm-hmm.
you can either go, oh, I'm going to come join you, or shame on you, you're not supposed to be eating ice cream. But whichever happens to be the case, that either of these two devices really can be a complement to the care that a loved one is providing, but also it has created a significant peace of mind, knowing that we can know where they are, knowing that we can bring them back home, and that the program has proven to be successful over and over again.
That is incredible. And it gives it that is furthering the technology than when last we spoke, because we talked about the bracelet back then and the initial implementation of it. Now there is a choice
Yes.
in terms of the kind of monitoring that you want to have for your loved one and what might be necessary. So, what a terrific option that you have. Now, the other side of this story is that this is expanding beyond Calhoun County now.
Right. We got a grant from the Michigan Health Endowment Fund, and part of that grant, or the primary focus of that grant, is to take the technology pieces that we were just talking about and make them available across the state of Michigan. And part of the success measures of that grant, from my perspective, is what's been our reach across the state, and is it beginning to be implemented in those other counties as we had hoped? So we completed a couple of trainings not too long ago, and we have at this point reached over 50 of the counties. And we have another training that will be coming up. And by the time we're done, we will get to more than 90% of the counties across the state of Michigan. And we have a special website that folks can go to order devices directly, so that it doesn't have to go to the Calhoun County component and all the other things that we do in the county, but rather can go ahead and just order those. And that's m3-tech.org. So folks can go there and visit that and pick up information about that. One of the interesting things that we were able to do with the grant dollars is to also look at those individuals that are impacted by dementia. And it's not just the individual and their caregivers, but rather the family at large. So, grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, children, grandchildren, all of those happen to be impacted. And one of them that has some difficulty in this process are the children, the grandchildren. And so we worked with the Battle Creek Community Foundation and Clovis to develop our own puppets, and we have created and produced a puppet show that talks about dementia and how kids can think about it from a different perspective, and taking out all of the technical words, just trying to describe what it means and how they can still love grandma or grandpa or whomever it might be, that is living with dementia. And one of the really neat things about it is that parents and grandparents, caregivers, have come back to us to say, that makes so much sense.
Uh-huh.
And we've been able to expand on how folks understand more about what dementia really does and how it impacts the family and how we can love them anyway.
Yeah, interesting. I want to come back to the technology thing for just a second. So let's get this straight. This concept was thought of and developed here in Calhoun County, and
Yeah.
you saw that vision through to the extent that folks in Calhoun County ended up with a bracelet on their wrist because of this work at Miles for Memories. And now it's permeating the state. And this all started here.
It did. It did. We even have a group from Indiana now that is engaging in the process as well. So it's moving beyond the borders, and all the technology really works across the U.S. It works anywhere you can get a cell phone reception. So it doesn't have to be just in the county or just in the state. Part of our pilot program tested it in Canada, all the way down in Arizona for some of our snowbirds, as an example. So we know that it works across the US, and it should work anywhere, again, that a cell phone number is usable. But please let me add into this that, it is a whole group of people that have been working on this through Miles for Memories, and we have very significant partners that have helped with the development of the whole process. So, Get My ID is one of our partners. Verizon government is one of our partners. The Community Foundation, Michigan Health Endowment Fund, Life Care Ambulance, or then we have the state police. So we've had a lot of individuals help us pilot, transition, change, refocus. The dispatcher's office, how did they respond to the things that are coming in to try to make it better all the time? And so we are just really thrilled with those partners in the process and how we continue to get better. So one of our newest pieces is actually what we would call a nugget. And the nugget is it's a little square, maybe an inch by inch, a little bit smaller than that, and it slides very easily on a smartwatch band. So for somebody who's already wearing a watch, but we want to be able to know some additional information because maybe there's some mild cognitive impairment and we need to get some additional information from them, you can get the same information from the Nugget by scanning it on the back side. But the Nugget can go in lots of places. So in addition to a watch band, it could go on your shoes as an example and
Hmm.
constantly be there. In facilities, it can go on the bra strap of someone because it's completely waterproof. So you can have things laundered, put them back on, and you're still good to go, and you have everything with you as you get ready to go forward. So that is another device that we now have available, and we are also currently working on a pet tag. So if we have a loved one living with dementia and they have a pet, we know that that pet is exceptionally important to them. And if the pet is found absent from their caregiver, care provider, loved one, we know that there's also something that might be amiss, and we need to do some steps to figure out what in the world is going on. And it helps to return the pet just in case the door was open.
Mhm.
So that's another component of the entire picture.
So just talking about that begins to reveal the extent of the thinking that had to go on about the scope of what we're dealing with and thus the scope of the proposed solution. There was a lot of thinking and planning that had to go into the development of these devices to make them as versatile as they are for as many situations that it might be faced. Is that true?
Right. Yeah, sure. Most definitely. And, we have our leadership team is a great set of individuals, a great resource to make us or allow us to think of the same situation from completely different perspectives. So, that in and of itself, I think also gave us a strong input in, the steps that we were going to take. One of the other programs that we have that's not technically a device, but has been a very successful program is our Help Home database that we have with the county dispatch. So that one is just a county program. It's not one of those that's shared. But with that particular program, uh, the information that is entered into the system is immediately viewable by law enforcement in the field rather than having it relayed through a dispatcher. So if they come across someone, they'll be able to get a visual, get some more details, find out where they live, who their emergency contact happens to be, and know how to best approach an individual that might seem disoriented, but we know we're on the lookout for. So that program is the very first one that we started with, and that included law enforcement across the county, and we all came together to come up with common word choices and things that we needed to be looking for to make sure that it got entered into the database. And I would have to credit Tina most significantly because she's entered everybody into the database on her own, and that way everybody's the same, right? So any way we look at anything, it's seen through a similar set of eyes as it makes it into the database as we go forward. And, the state police have been very interestingly helpful in this because even the database, the way that Tina put it together, is accessible by our state police as well. So kind of had to look at all of those. It's the same kind of thing what you were talking about, but trying to make a program as versatile as possible so that everybody who might have access to it can truly use it in a meaningful way.
Well, I don't want to um, give short shrift to what tends to get most of the attention when we talk about supportive programs in the fight against dementia. That is to say, very often what we hear about are the walks and the events to try and support research, which obviously is incredibly important. However, I think you are to be commended and the folks with Miles for Memories for looking at what can we do in the interim
Right.
to help folks who are dealing with this and the folks who love them to try and make solutions happen. And man, have you done it. Unbelievable, Sherry.
Oh, thank you. Thank you from all of us, frankly. It is a labor of love. And, if dementia hasn't impacted your family yet, statistics are not in your favor. So, especially as we continue to age and as we look at some of the facts and figures as it relates to Alzheimer's in particular, we aren't making progress yet in terms of trying to find directions that are going to stop that and bring that to an end. But what is good news in all of this, because, even Miles for Memories does some research of our own to really look at those things that we can do to prevent or to reduce our risk of developing those symptoms of dementia. And that becomes really important. We work with Michigan State University and have several programs with them to evaluate what in the world is going on, share that information. And, every spring we have them come back in, do an update of, the trends that are happening, how we can begin to impact that. And we now know that we have at least a 30% chance of reducing risks if we're willing to make certain lifestyle changes. So it's not just how can I care for you once we have a diagnosis, but how can we prevent that from occurring in the first place? How can we make some lifestyle changes? And frankly, as we do that, it not only benefits us in terms of reducing our risk for dementia, but also reduces our risk for other chronic conditions that are so significant, such as diabetes or heart disease. And we want to make sure that folks know that that benefit is more universal. It's not just for someone who wants to reduce that risk for dementia.
Hmm. Incredible. All right. More information easily found at milesformemories.org. There's
Correct.
details on all of these things that Sherry has talked about and a whole lot more, and a chance to donate if you want to. You also mentioned an M3 website. I want to give you a chance to say that website again.
Yes, just to order devices, it's m3-tech, that's tech.org, m3-tech.org. And you can order devices anywhere from one to however many you want, right from the website right there.
Okay. And of course, if you're listening on WBCK and you're trying to hurry up and write all those things down, you can go to battlecreekpodcast.com and click on this Miles for Memories episode, and the accompanying show notes will have all these links in there. So if you didn't get your pencil and your pen and your paper set right away, it's there. And you can go there and find it at battlecreekpodcast.com. Sherry Sherbin, Miles for Memories. We shall stay in touch.
Yes, most
Thank you
definitely.
so much.
Thank you. Appreciate you.